Today, we live in a world unparalleled in human history due to innovation. 100 years ago, crossing the Atlantic could take a week or longer. Today, we can travel to anywhere in the world in less than a day. We can surf in the morning, ski in the afternoon. We can travel to space. We could learn almost anything from the comfort of our homes. We can live into our hundreds, live healthy lives into our hundreds, all thanks to innovation. So let's talk about innovation. There are three types of innovation. There's something new, there's something improved, and then there are new business models. Now, something new, never been done before, new is very rare, okay? Almost everything is an improvement on a product or service that already exists. So new, improved. When we'll look at some examples. But the other more interesting thing that we see much of today is a new business model. New business model means you're taking something that already exists, a product or solution that already exists, and changing at least one component of the business model canvas and bringing that to the market. Maybe you change the distribution channel, or maybe you change the revenue channel, something new. The light bulb, that was new, although some people might say it was a better candle. Okay. The airplane then, people have never flown before. The airplane made the world a more accessible place. Today we can fly from the Eastern Hemisphere and land in the West the day before we departed. Okay. How about something more current? Okay, what about CRISPR gene editing? Okay, so we can grow vegetables now that ripen more slowly, and they have a higher nutritional value, good for people. That way we also reduce food waste, which is good for business and people. So, good example of win-win innovation. What else can we do with gene editing? Well, just like in Jurassic Park, recently a startup company in Dallas took the DNA from a fossilized direwolf, inseminated a gray wolf, and recreated the direwolf. Now that startup company is bringing back extinct species back to life. And that startup company now has a valuation of over $10 billion. Sidebar for you Game of Thrones fans, Jon Snow's pet wolf was actually a dire wolf. Are there ethical issues here? I think so. What else can we do with gene editing? Well, we can make the world's most dangerous animal the #1 killer of humans infertile. And no, I'm not talking about humans, I'm talking about the mosquito. Will there be risks to the environment? I certainly think that you could certainly make that argument. As I mentioned earlier, we can live healthy lives into our hundreds. This is primarily due to innovation in medicine. And one of the most impactful innovations in medicine was developed in the early 20th century when Scottish microbiologist Alexander Fleming invented penicillin. This is the first medication to kill bacteria. So penicillin has saved hundreds of millions of lives, and it also generated hundreds of billions of dollars within the pharma industry. Win-win innovation. What are some other profound innovations? Well, what about the solar cell? The solar cell is the first solid-state device to generate electricity. Why do I mention solid state? Why is that important? There's no moving parts, okay? So if there's no moving parts, it doesn't break. Those solar cells can last almost indefinitely, making it an invaluable source of renewable, clean energy. And let's not forget about the World Wide Web, also a new innovation. You can't imagine a world without the internet. Imagine a world without GPS. No more wasting time on social media. I guess that's good. But how will you find your way to Grandma's house? You might be wondering why I haven't mentioned artificial intelligence as a new innovation. Well, AI is certainly a new innovation, but you might be surprised to know it was actually first developed in the 1950s. Also, it had its roots with the likes of Alan Turing going back to World War II, when Alan Turing actually broke the Nazi Enigma code, ending World War II and changing the course of world history. But we'll save that topic for another video. And what about the beloved cell phone? Many people think of the cell phone as something new. It wasn't. We just added one thing to the standard wall phone. We added mobility in the 80s. We cut the cord. Since then, tens of thousands of patents have been developed, and millions of work hours have been spent on improving the modern day smartphone. I personally spent 15 years of my career making cell phones better when I worked at Motorola in the early cellular days. Those of you born after the 90s can't imagine life without a cell phone. Today there are almost as many cell phones as people, and there are 8 billion people in the world. LED lighting. This is an improved innovation, okay? They are brighter and cheaper. Yes, cheaper because they can last 50 times longer than a standard bulb, also making them better for the environment. Okay, now not everything has to be, a new solar cell or a new airplane, things like this. We can make very mundane things actually much better. How about the doorbell, for example? The doorbell had little innovation since the Roman Empire until 36-year-old Jamie Siminoff pitched the Doorbot idea on Shark Tank. Did they fund him? No, they turned him down. If you're familiar with Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary, calls himself Mr. Wonderful, passed on the Doorbot. Now, this is good news for Jamie because Amazon later bought Doorbot for over $1 billion. Knowing what the market wants is extremely important, and we'll cover that in a customer discovery video. Okay, now we covered new and improved, but what is a new business model? Let's look at Spotify. Okay, companies have been selling music for generations, and here a 2-person startup company from Sweden comes along and captures 35% worldwide market share. That's incredible. 2x that of Apple Music and YouTube Music. How does Spotify, a Swedish startup, outperform Apple Music and YouTube Music? Well, when the whole country of Sweden is only 12% the size of the combined market cap of Apple and Google, how did they do that? Well, they introduced a new freemium business model. Apple does not have a freemium model, and they also provide a much better user experience than does YouTube. When you hit that like button, you're actually improving their product for you, making it a sticky application. Their paid conversion rate is unbelievable. It's over 40%. Most companies barely reach 10% conversion rates. Okay, what's new with Uber? Okay, new business model. There were taxis before, there were buses before, there were rides from friends before. Uber is a platform business model connecting riders and drivers, not unlike Airbnb connecting guests with hosts. Neither company owns the underlying assets being utilized. They're connecting platform, a new business model. Sidebar, the idea for Uber, the genesis of Uber, occurred when the founders couldn't get a taxi while in Paris. At that time, France limited the number of taxi licenses, so when there were big conferences, there was shortage of taxis. Why don't taxis use the app today? That's beyond me. Waymo comes along now and adds yet another dimension to the ride-sharing market. Will this be the future? I believe it will be, but I know there are skeptics. My female students, for example, they think it would be much safer for them. With 75% growth rate from 2024 to 2025, I believe the market is telling us they will be successful. But no doubt there are obstacles. One big obstacle might be safety perception held by many people. So we've covered types of innovation, but the most important aspect of innovation is that it must be valuable to people. History is cluttered with solutions in search of a market problem or a market need. Google Glass, for example. They added internet to our glasses. Definitely a new innovation, but was it valuable to people? No. After 2 years and billions of dollars spent, Google had to pull Google Glass from the market due to market acceptance. Will this change in the future? We shall see. Even the great Steve Jobs had his market flops. He predicted the Segway would be bigger than the PC. It wasn't. It flopped and has now been relegated to shopping mall cops and other niche markets. No offense to Steve Jobs, but he has had many product failures due to lack of market acceptance. Knowing what the market wants, in my opinion, is the most valuable innovation skill to have. You may say, I'm not an engineer, I can't build that product, or I can't write that software for my gaming idea. Well, hire someone. Oh, I can't pay them. Give them equity in your company. Or better yet, develop a patent, okay? Let other people build the product or deliver your solution. You can simply collect royalties. This is a great business model. Last year, Qualcomm, a San Diego-based chip company, made over $8 billion licensing their technology to other tech companies, including some of their competitors. In the future videos, we will dig deeper into such things as customer discovery, intellectual property, crowdsourcing, open innovation, and several other innovation methodologies. Thank you very much for listening. I very much appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.